everyone. Hello. What is up, guys? It is James, aka Jimmy Pancakes 20, back here to do a new video / podcast for you. And today is Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. And today is the second part of our HHN Hollywood 2011 history video / podcast. And of course, I'm not alone. To continue the saga with me and all of you, welcome back my co-host. You know her, you love her, my mom, Marsha. So mom, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
So, guys, this is the continuation. This is part 2. So if you guys have not checked out part 1 yet, it was uploaded yesterday, Monday, June 22nd, 2026. So today is Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. And this is part 2 that's coming out today. And tomorrow, Wednesday, June 24th, 2026, is going to be part 3 where we talk about the Bill and Ted show, as well as the 5 scare zones. Alright, Mom, so are you ready to continue our Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2011 history video / podcast part 2? Where
Yes.
we're going to talk about the Terror Tram and the 2 mazes located downstairs.
Yes, I am ready, James.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy part 2 of our Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2011 history video part 2, starting now. Alright, guys, so as you guys know, part 1, we did talk about the theme of the event, the icon for this year's event, which was Ghostface from the Scream movies. And then we talked about the 4 mazes on the upper lot, which was the Wolfman, the Thing Assimilation, Rob Zombie's House of 1,000 Corpses, and we ended part 1 with the La Llorona maze. Now we're going to continue with the final thing that was on the upper lot, because over the years people have called this a special attraction, people have called it an outside maze, people have called it an outside scare zone. I just call it the Terror Tram. I don't label the Terror Tram as a special thing or a maze or a scare zone. I just know it as the Terror Tram, and that's always how it's going to be. Your thoughts on that, Mom, before we continue?
I know it as the Terror Tram. I don't like anybody saying different stuff about the Terror Tram. I know it as the Terror Tram, and I'm used to it. What about you, James?
Yeah, as I said, people can label it however they want, but we know it as the Terror Tram, and that's always how it's always going to be to us. Alright, guys, and just as a friendly reminder, I said it in part 1, we do not do scores for these. We just like talking about the history, giving you what it was back in the day, going to Horror Nights. If you guys don't know my history with Horror Nights, I've been going since 2008. I haven't missed a single year except for the year of COVID. Technically, my mom's first year was technically going also 2008, but she went the final night of 2008. So her first full year was 2009, and she hasn't missed a single year either. So there you go. So there's our little brief history. So for the Terror Tram this year, and again, same photo. We're talking about Halloween Horror Nights 2011. So the Terror Tram this year, the theme for this year was the Terror Tram Scream for Your Life. I'm going to get through this entire thing and then we'll have the discussion of why the Terror Tram this year was a hit or miss for some people. You and I know what we're talking about. For people that have never gone to it, let's just say they did something opening weekend, and by the time we went back the second weekend, it was changed a lot.
I know exactly what you're talking about, James, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
All right, so this is how the main icon Ghostface was themed to it. He was connected with the Terror Tram this year. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the backstory or the theme for the Terror Tram this year. And again, it was located on the studio tour, and they took us to the back lot where the old Whoville sets used to be. It's now the Universal Picture Car lot, but for many years when they did the Terror Tram, it was known as the Whoville set until they got rid of it, and I don't remember exactly what year they got rid of the Whoville sets, but for many years they used the Whoville sets as the Terror Tram. And then, of course, it was the Bates Motel, and then, for many years it was the Dirt Path, until they finally stopped doing it. Then it was the Bates House, and then, of course, War of the Worlds sets. So, let's see what path we went to on this year. So, basically the theme for the Terror Tram this year was promoting Scream 4. That was coming out that year. And basically, you were going to do a behind-the-scenes look at Stab 8, the fake film that the characters in the Scream movies go watch in the Scream movies, which is a fake movie that was, it's a fake movie within a movie that we like to watch. That's how it is.
And that's for the Terror Tram.
That's kind of the theme for the Terror Tram. But let me get through this, Mom. So you're basically, Stab 8 is filming on the Universal backlot, but of course chaos happens where Ghostface is killing everyone that goes to the set. And of course you're going to go to the set because, you want to see the Stabathon, or the Stab 8 Fan Fest, as we like to call it. And of course, 4 different movies were filming on the Universal backlot. So, of course, one of them was Stab 8. It was one movie that was in the Whoville area. Stab 8 was filming at the Bates Motel. Then you had the Hillside, where it was like a hillbilly massacre type of movie. And then on the War of the Worlds set was called Zombies on the Plane, a reference to Snake on the Plane. So, there you go. So, you get dropped off at the Whoville set, and I don't remember what the title of this movie was, but pretty much it's where the chainsaw guys were, and they were dressed up as demon clowns, so kind of a demon clown movie. And they also had some little people dressed up as the same characters as well. And then, of course, they had some people dressed up as Ghostface. You walk between these two fence lines, and that's where Ghostface would sometimes pop from below, or sometimes above to scare you. Then you go to the Bates Motel, but you don't walk around the Bates Motel like we do now for the Terror Tram. You still went through that little hallway and then into the Bates Motel. So it's like kind of a little hallway to the Bates Motel, and they had a sign that said Stab 8 Fan Fest, and then of course it was the dates for the Halloween Horror Nights going on that year. Mom, did you have something you want to say about the first section before we move on?
I remember going through that little hallway, James.
Mm-hmm.
But now we don't anymore.
We don't anymore.
And I'm glad, because that hallway always got crowded.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Madhouse.
Yeah, it was a really bad conga line.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got to the Bates Motel, this was the only area that was themed to Stab 8 or the Scream movies. This is where the controversy happened, but we'll talk about it at the very end. Just listen to what I need to say first. Okay. So when you get to the Bates Motel, it was themed to Stab 8, where they had some people dressed up as people that were at the festival, and then you had multiple ghost faces that were stabbing people, and people were running into the hotel rooms trying to escape and stuff like that. Then in the center of the parking lot, they had a sheet maze where they had more victims and more ghost face popping in left and right. And that caused a lot of conga lines, as we would say. But it was decent. They would get people through them quite quickly, but sometimes depending on how many people were on the Terror Tram, sometimes it would cause a conga line. And as we said, that was the only thing themed to Scream or Stab 8. That was there on opening weekend. When we went back second weekend, they got rid of that. And they just had ghost faces, at the Bates Motel, and they did have a little portion of it still up, but not like the big portion. I remember what I said. This was the only area that was themed to Stab 8 and the Scream 4. And this is the thing that you are promoting. I'll give my thoughts as soon as we get done with it. Moving on. Then the next movie is On the Hill and the Dirt Path. Basically, it's a bunch of hillbillies. You go up the dirt path. They have the guillotine guys again with the shaker can scaring you. Lots of crazy hillbillies cutting up people. Kind of like a version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even though it's not Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's the best way I can describe it. They had an outhouse that people come out of, or sometimes not come out of. They had two scenes where they had people on table. They were cutting their face open. They had one person beginning to get cut in half. They had a whole bunch of trucks that had dead bodies in them, and there was a hanging tree that had also dead bodies in it. That was pretty much what was on the dirt path. Pretty simple. Your thoughts on that, Mom?
It was good, but I thought the whole Terror Tram was going to be for Scream, but they goofed up big time. But I'll tell you after my final thoughts. But that part was okay. It wasn't my favorite.
All right. So to end the last section of the Terror Tram is War of the Worlds, and of course, as I said, the film was called Zombies on a Plane, a reference to Snake on the Plains, and very much it was military personnel saying that the area was not safe. There was lots of zombies out there, so you had military people that were live humans and lots of zombies, and that was pretty much the entire thing of the War of the Worlds section. And they didn't have those big facades that we had for the Terror Tram the last couple of years. They didn't have any big facades like that. They had two old, tram carts that they would hang dead bodies and stuff on. So then, of course, you get back on the tram. The person has a ghost ghost face mask on. There's a video that plays. It's not your actual tour guide that's taking you back there. It's a video thing, and tour guide saying that we're going to take you back. Ghostface is pretending to stand up. She pretends to stab him, and then the actual tour guide pops the mask off, saying it's not really me. And then, of course, because Scream 4 was coming out, they played a trailer for it as you were going back to the unload, and that was the end of the Terror Tram. Oh, boy. I'm going to let you go first, Mom, and then I have lots of things to say about that particular section.
I didn't really like the Terror Tram this year. I mean, I thought it was going to be all Scream. It really wasn't. They goofed up big time. I didn't really enjoy it. It was the worst Terror Tram in history that I saw. So, no, I didn't really enjoy it. They goofed up. What was Universal thinking? I thought it was going to be all Scream. But no. And that's my point. And I'm done.
Yeah, my point is, you had that section with Scream, even though it was causing a conga line. That's what people went for the Terror Tram for. Then you got rid of it. You made it smaller. It wasn't as good as opening night. I heard people skip the Terror Tram because once they learned about what happened from opening weekend to the rest of the event, I may be one on the Terror Tram maybe 2 more times during the 10-night pass. I focused more on the mazes than the Terror Tram. That tells you a veteran person that's gone to horror nights since 2008 only went on the Terror Tram when he had a 10-night pass only 3 times. That tells you how messed up the Terror Tram was that year. a huge fan of the Scream movies. I enjoyed every single one that I've seen, including the new Scream that just came out like a year or two ago. I'm a fan of the Scream movies. I would love to see a proper Scream house with Ghostface. This was the best that we were going to get. I enjoyed opening weekend. Did not enjoy it the rest of the time. They messed up this Terror Tram so badly. And I will tell you, the feedback that they got, because I did the survey at the end of the night, when they had people out there asking you surveys and stuff, and I said I honestly did not like the Terror Tram. Yeah, it was one of the worst Terror Trams I've gone to. Some years have been good, some years have been bad, and this was the first year that I did not enjoy the Terror Tram. Out of the 4 years that I've gone so far, I liked the 2008 one, I liked the 2009 one, and I liked the 2010 one. Did not enjoy this one. So, moving on from there, we're going to now move down to the lower lot. And we're going to talk about the first maze that was located downstairs. This one was located at the time behind the Jurassic Park extended queue. Now it's known as the Jurassic World extended queue. This one was the first year they ever worked with an artist, or aka a singer. And I have enjoyed his music. I have listened to this album multiple times before going. This was music that John Murray said that he listened to as a teen and stuff. And he's a famous singer. He's probably in the rock and roll Hall of Fame. That's what I was trying to say. But he's still performing to this day. Ladies and gentlemen, Alice Cooper. And they did it based off his album, Welcome to My Nightmare. I have listened to this album multiple times. So they took some of his favorite, some of the famous songs and recreated them in the house, as well as some of the music videos for some of the songs as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, the maze was called Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare. So, your thoughts, Mom, when we first heard about this announcement?
I said a singer. A singer. I didn't listen to his music like you, James, but you told me a little bit of the music. I said, I know this one's going to be really good. Your thoughts, James?
I just wasn't sure how they were going to recreate it in a live maze.
Right.
That was my only thing, was how are they going to do that?
And was this one in 3D or not in 3D?
No.
That one was not in 3D. Okay.
This was the first year. The one that you are talking about was, they did Alice Cooper again in 2012, and that was the one that was in 3D.
Okay.
but it was in a different location.
Right. Okay.
You're getting the two mixed up. This was the first year they did Alice Cooper, which was located downstairs. At the time, it was the Jurassic Park extended queue.
Right. Okay.
So let's get into this maze. So the facade for this maze is an abandoned house. There's no names tied to this house. But if you want to look up Alice Cooper, Welcome to My Nightmare, like pull up a YouTube video or a photo. But if you look at the house, just like what they did for La Llorona, they had windows that looked like eyes with paint on it. You know, because Alice Cooper has sometimes paint on his face, and then and then a small window that looked like nose, and then of course the door looked like the mouth, so it looked like you were going into Alice Cooper. The way the facade looked. Yeah. So in the first room, there was no actors. You were going into a house, but there was some furniture, but not a whole lot. Then you entered a childhood's bedroom, or it was maybe an adult bedroom. But there was lots of things over. There was a desk. There was a drawer. There was lots of things in the room. So let me explain this really quick, because I was confused on this too. So the whole album of Alice Cooper Welcome to My Nightmare is, if you listen to the lyrics or seen the music videos for any of the songs that are on that album, it's basically his nightmare. So when you're going through this maze, it's his nightmare, and all the characters that you meet, except for some of the characters, look exactly like Alice Cooper. Some of them do not, but most of them look like Alice Cooper. So basically what they did, a twist, is if you watch the music videos and stuff, it's Alice Cooper's nightmare. But because you're guessing it, Alice Cooper is actually torturing you. So he's taking you into his nightmare, but it's with a twist where he's torturing you instead of it torturing him. So that's the way that they played on this. So, as I said, all the actors, except for some, of course the female ones in the maze, they all look like Alice Cooper. This is his nightmare, and all the characters were created from his music video or promotional ads for the album, or just a reference, when to reference that before we continue talking about the maze. So the first actor comes out looking like Alice Cooper, and he's dressed like in a teddy bear pajamas. And of course he comes out with a chainsaw. Then you go through two small hallways, and then you enter a giant one where, of course, it's covered with baby clothes and one or two dead bodies. Then you enter a room where there's baby dolls that are in wooden crates, and lots of them are dummies. But of course, there's always one or two that are scare actors, and you don't know where they are.
In the hallway? Or past the hallway?
No, I said you enter a room that has the dummies.
Okay.
Yeah, you know which one I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Got a little confused there, James.
That's okay. They are in their hallway where you have to go past these demon baby dolls with glowing green eyes. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Then you enter a giant room where this is where I'm a little confused. It's either you're going back to the 1700s or you're going back to the 1800s, and you're walking through these walls that have these heads that are on these spikes, and then of course there's like a stilt walker character that is dressed in these prehistoric or no like uh, colonial clothes. Like it looks like something from like American Revolution or something, and he's looks like Alice Cooper, and then he has a chopped head of Alice Cooper, and the rest of the body, or it's a dummy body that the head is cut off with a guillotine, the way that they would chop heads back in the day. So yeah, um, um, that's there, and it kind of looks like you start in the forest, and then you're going into a forest. So this room was kind of confusing for me. So just bear with me. This is I have on my notes, so it's really hard to tell and remembering all these years ago. And then before you get into the next room, of course, another one of the characters, dressed in the colonial times, another Cell Walker, gets you. Then the next couple of rooms, you're either in a hospital or you're in an asylum. It's hard to tell, and you hear the loop of Alice Cooper saying, "I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here." And then the first character you meet in this is dressed as Alice Cooper again. He is either a doctor or he's like a male nurse. But I think from doing more research on this character, I think he's a doctor.
I think he was too. I remember what room you're talking about, James.
Yeah. And he comes out from the right. And then, of course, the stilt walker that you met outside before you came in, he could come into the asylum and he could walk the hallway that you're walking and he could scare you and you wouldn't know he was there. And that happened like twice to us when we went through that maze.
I remember. Yep.
Yeah. Then you enter a scene where you either see a doctor or a patient that's strapped to an electric chair, and then there are two sexy nurses, and they're pretending to shock him. Sometimes there's just one in there, sometimes there's two in there. It just depends. And I will tell you, a lot of people stopped in that room, and then they finally put someone that, is holding the crowd, because a lot of people would stop in there and take their time in that room. Yeah. Then, of course, you go for the morgue where, they had two dead people that popped out from boo holes in the morgue. And then, of course, they had two regular ones, and then, of course, there was a third one that was a dead corpse of Alice Cooper that popped out and scared you. And then as you exit the room, another one of the Doctor's Alice Coopers comes out and scares you with a chainsaw again. And then pretty much you're done with the asylum section. Then you enter one of my favorite rooms. There's a song in Alice Cooper Welcome to My Nightmare, which is called School's Out. And pretty much she's talking about what I would do during the summer. I'm going to get in trouble and stuff like that. And so they had a still walker of the teacher that came out and scared you from the left-hand side. And of course, the teacher, again, looked like Alice Cooper. Then, of course, so then you went out and there was someone that was pretending to get bound by a giant snake. And then you turn the corner and you see the head of the snake. So you got like 3 different scares all in the first 2 rooms. Then, of course, you go down another hallway. There are mannequins, and of course, Alice Cooper with 4 arms. Then another Doctor Alice Cooper comes out and scares you when you're looking at the dummy of the Alice Cooper with the 4 arms. And then you enter a room that I did not like, because this is one of my fears. Spiders. So, of course, there's a room full of spiders, and of course, there's a giant spider that pops out and sprays water on you. Same with the snake. Very creepy. I did not enjoy that room. And then pretty much you go down a couple more hallways, and of course a couple more scare actors of Alice Cooper pop out and scare you, and then that is the end of the maze. So, your thoughts on that maze, Mom?
I did not listen to his music, but I can tell you the maze was amazing. They scared me left and right. Very well done. This is one of my favorite mazes, but we'll talk about that when we do our review. But
no, at the end of part 3, we're going to talk about which one was our favorite maze out of all of them,
right.
Our least favorite maze,
right,
and our favorite scare zone.
Right. But this one was very well done. They were popping left and right, but really well done. Really liked this maze. They scared me half out of my wits. And that's all I have to say about this one. James?
I really did enjoy this one. Now, I did enjoy this one. The next one we're going to talk about, we have some issues with. So let me get through these first notes really quick, and then you'll understand why there is a warning of me possibly cursing and saying some stuff that I would not usually say.
Is that the next maze you're talking about?
That is the next maze we're talking about.
Okay.
The final one that was on the lower lot.
Oh. I know which one. I know which one it is, James.
Okay, so to wrap up part 2 of our Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2011 history video / podcast, we're going to talk about my least favorite maze of the entire event. My least favorite one of the entire event. So, just a fair warning to you guys. As we're talking about this maze, you might hear some foul language. So, just to fair warning. So, fair warning, you may hear some foul language as we are talking about this maze. So please be prepared. So this maze was located behind the Mummy Ride. The maze that we are talking about is called Hostel, Eli Ross's Hostel Hunting Season. Before we get into the maze, Mom, your thoughts on this one first. Before we even get into the maze.
Honestly, I didn't really like this one. I don't know why John Murdy brought it here. But personally, I didn't like it. They scared me, but I still didn't like it. Your thoughts, James?
I'm going to say my thoughts to the very end.
Okay.
So,
got it.
Let's get started.
This was my least favorite maze of this year.
Okay.
And I'm done.
So, Hostel was created by Eli Roth. He also helped create Hollywood Harry back in 2016. And the other years that Hollywood Harry was there as well. This was the first thing he ever did for Halloween Horror Nights. So this was the first collaboration between John Murdy and Eli Roth. He directed the first 2 Hostel movies, which I really did enjoy. They were awesome movies. He did not direct the 3rd one or the 4th one. He only directed the first 2. Originally, when this maze was announced, I thought it was going to be based off the first 2 movies. There was only 2 scenes that were from any of the movies. Everything else Universal created just particularly for this maze. Also, really quick, this was the first year that they did the HHN Twitter password. So if you guys, what you don't know is, starting from this year in 2020, in 2011, up to 2019 with the Ghostbusters maze, every night John Murdy would tweet a password out, and if you found a certain character and you gave them the password, they would give you either a postcard, or they would give you a business card, or they would give you something else. So I have the business card that I got from this maze because I did the password, and I also got the thing from when they did the password for Krampus, a maze that we're going to talk about in the future, and then of course the business card the final year they did it for Ghostbusters in 2019. So I did do it. Some of the years I didn't do them all the years that he was doing it, but I did them for the years, that I knew I was going to go multiple times. So, and the way that you got the cards was you had to find the girls outside. And speaking of the girls outside, they were basically the ones that in the movies, they would trap the tourists and take them to this place because you think you're going to get with a hot, European girl, and of course she's only there to lure you in, and that's what these girls were doing. So, there you go. So the facade was a random European factory or warehouse. I don't know what the fuck John Murray was thinking. So I will tell you the scenes that were from the movie, and I will tell you the scenes that were not from the movie. And this first area was not from the movie. I don't know what the fuck John Murray was thinking, but here we go. First room we entered was some kind of security room, and you were looking through security monitors. Was not in the movie. Next, you walked down the hallway with some hanging bodies, and there were some cages that had some live victims as well. Not from the movie. Next room you enter is a locker room where the killers were getting ready to kill the people. And basically the whole premise of the Hostel movies was these rich people paid these killers to torture or kill the victims. And the rich people would tell the killers how they wanted the victims to get killed or injured. And that's the way that the killers would do it. So, you're in the locker room, and pretty much, it's, and pretty much, you had one of the killers that was there and telling you, oh, you're going to be next and stuff. And he was like pointing a fake gun at you. Not from the movie. So far we had 3 fucking scenes that were not from the movie. So next area you enter is the cage room where you have these numbers, and the rich clients would pick what number, and that would be the weapon the killer would use to do whatever he was going to do. You didn't see that in the fucking movie. Then you enter one of the torturer's room, and there's no scare actors or anything, just building up to the next torture room where you see one of the killers cutting the victim's head, and her head is split open, and her whole face is pretty much messed up. That was not from the movie. Then you enter another torture scene, and this scene, this scene was used in the Saw maze, and it's basically where Amanda's pulling the guy's guts out from underneath the table, and they were reusing that scene. That scene was not in the movie. moving on. And then the next room you enter was where there was benches and the victims were tied up, and there was the killer like saying, "Oh, who's gonna be next?" Then we get to one of the scenes that was from the movie. Thank God, it was from Hostel 2, where there are these two girls, and one of them gets tied up over a bath, and the killer uses this like giant knife. I think it's a sectional or something, and cuts the back of the victim, and the blood drains into her bathtub, and she lays in the bathtub, you know, covered in the victim's blood. So basically, there's a video projector of it, and then you go around the corner, you see a hanging body of the victim, and then to your right is when the person comes out and scares you. So I recognize that from Hostel 2. Then you go down, yeah, I already talked about that one. Then you enter another room where there's two more demon killers with demon helmets on platforms on either side of you with giant scissors trying to cut your head off for some reason. That wasn't in the movie. Then they did another famous scene. It was either used in either Saw or Texas, where someone legs are going through a meat grinder and he's being turned into meat. This kill was not in any of the Hostel movies that I saw. So again, so far, multiple fucking scenes were not from the movie. You had that one scene where the girl was tied upside down and the killer is using the scent and covered in her blood in the bathtub. That's the only one so far from any of the Hostel movies. Everything else was not in the Hostel movies. Let's continue. Then you enter a freezer section where there's hanging bodies you have to go pass through. Then you enter a storage room where one of the killers comes from the left, and you have to go past them through these fake bodies. Then you enter the boiler room where you see the boiler from Saw in the first two rooms. Then there's no scares in that. Then you enter the final room, and this I remember where in one of the movies, some of the victims escape and the killers are chasing them down with these guard dogs, and there are two or three puppets of guard dogs that come out and scare you, and that is the end of the maze. So let me get this straight. You did a maze based off Hostel. People were seeing the movie Hostel. They already knew what Hostel was. Everyone was thinking, this was going to be based off the two movies of Hostel. And there's only two fucking scenes that people recognize from the movie. Everything else you guys made up. Was this Eli Roth doing? Was this John Murdy's doing? I don't know who messed up, but this was the worst fucking maze I have ever gone through at Horror Nights. One of the worst. There's been other ones that have been bad, but for this year in 2011, this is my least favorite maze. All the other times that I had, the other nights that I went through with our 10 night pass, we maybe went through this maze again, maybe 2 more times, and that was it. We didn't focus on this maze. I am so glad that we don't do scores for this rating, because if we were given a rating for these mazes, this one would have got a 1 out of 5. It was so bad. But the past is the past, but I love giving these history videos, and that is my opinion. Some people have said this was the best maze, so take it as you will, but this is my opinion on this maze. Mom, your opinion.
I did not see the movies, so I didn't know any of those scenes in the movie. Okay? But I didn't really like it. I didn't really like it. I'm glad they didn't bring it back for a second year. Because if they did, I would not go through this maze. I just wish they kept the scenes from the movie, not make up scenes. But I didn't really like it. Worst maze ever this year. Or that year. That's all I'm going to say. That's it.
Alright, guys. So, again, I want to apologize for anyone that was offended when I was saying the F word multiple times talking about the Eli Ross maze. But I gave you guys fair warning before we talked about that maze, so you had plenty of chances. As I said, this is just my opinion. You can take it as you want. But again, this is just my opinion for that maze. This is why I do these history videos, because, people don't know about these mazes, and I'm going to tell you the truth. If I don't like a maze, I'm going to tell you. You can take it as you want. So, again, you guys had fair warning. I just want people to know that I don't usually curse, but if I am going to curse in these videos, I usually try to let you guys know before we talk about the maze that I'm going to curse about. So I always try to do fair warnings, and I do let you guys know, so, take it as a grain of salt. Alright, guys, so that is pretty much going to wrap up part 2 of our Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2011 history video / podcast part 2. Again, I want to thank my co-host, my mom, Marsha, for joining me again for part 2.
You're very welcome.
And as I said, tomorrow, Wednesday, June 24th, 2026 is when part 3 is going to be coming out, where we're going to talk about the Bill and Ted show and the 5 scare zones, and then that's going to wrap up our 2011 history videos for HHN Hollywood 2011. And then, if you guys also don't know, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video. If you guys did follow me on social media sites, yesterday at 8 p.m., I did announce the winner of the food review, and the winner was McDonald's. So McDonald's won. You guys voted the entire week up until Monday, and McDonald's won with 70% of the 70% of the votes. 30% was Taco Bell. So McDonald's is going to be the food review that's going to be coming out this month in June. It's going to come out probably this weekend. And then in July, the food review will be Taco Bell, the one that did not win. Also, this weekend, I'm also going to be putting out also the movie review for Sinners. I'm currently in the process of editing that video because I want to make sure I don't get any copyright strikes on that video, so I have to be very careful of how I'm doing that movie review. So I'm trying to work on editing it so I don't get copyright strikes on it. So, as I said, I'm a one-man army. I do all this by myself. So this weekend you can look forward to the movie review coming out and the McDonald's food review as well. Alright guys, so just wanted to let you guys know that. So I want to thank again my co-host Marsha for joining me for part 2.
You're very welcome.
And like we always say at the end of these videos, if you want to follow my co-host, my mom Marsha, you can follow her on her social media sites, which is Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. Her username on both is MarshaFan1960. And if you want to follow me, your host James, aka Jimmy Pancakes 20, you can follow me on all my social media sites on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and I also post on the the YouTube page, post tab on my YouTube channel page. That's where you're going to get the latest updates of when videos are coming, if videos are delayed, events that I'm going to. I try to post a lot more content on all my social media sites, and that's where you're going to get the latest information. So please follow me on any of those social media sites. Please follow me on whatever one you use the most. And the reason why I don't say what the usernames are on any of my videos is because some of them are Jimmy Pancakes 20. Some of them are Jimmy Pancakes 20 show. So, some of them are, as I said, are Jimmy Pancakes 20. Some of them are Jimmy Pancakes 20 show. That's why it's just easier to look at the bottom of the video to see all my social media sites, or on the main page of my YouTube page, I have the links to all 4 of my social media sites on there as well. Alright guys, so that's pretty much going to end this part 2, and we'll see you guys again, as I said, tomorrow, Wednesday, June 24th, 2023, or 2026, for the final part, aka part 3 of this Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2011 history videos / podcast. So have a good rest of your night, day, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this video on YouTube or watching the video or listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, or Podbean.com or their official app. I'm your host, James, aka Jimmy Pancakes 20, signing off, and we'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.